What's up, family? Welcome to CreelTalk, a place where two people living out loud share insights, failures, small wins, and everything in between. Listen, no fancy studio, no professional sound bites, no AI perfected scripts. It's just us growing. Whether you're going through breakthroughs or breakdowns at the same time as we are, pop in those earbuds and let's grow together. Believe. There's a mindset that if you have it, you are likely to accomplish more in life than you could imagine. Opportunity, wealth, good health, amazing relationships, and an impact on the world are just some of the things that are attainable with this mindset. But if you have its opposite, life will be about struggle, survival, and settling. Things I know all too well because when growing up, I lived in an environment that was plagued by poverty, starvation, homelessness, drug addiction, alcoholism, depression are just some of the byproducts of that poverty ridden environment. I remember later in life, after developing a great relationship with my father, he told me about a time where his addiction to drugs were so strong, he literally chose to feed his fix instead of buying baby food to feed me as an infant. A moment he expressed being deeply ashamed of. I even recall a time where my mother, one of the most amazing and beautiful people to ever grace this planet, spent her absolute last dollar to take me to the movies when I was a small child. On the way there, we passed a pizzeria, and like most small children who don't know better than to act on selfish impulse, I begged her for some food. At first, she told me no, and I didn't understand why. I didn't know we were broke. I didn't grasp the concept of lack at this time. I just wanted some pizza. So I kept on begging. And eventually, she went over to the pizza counter and she ordered 2 slices of pizza. I was too small at the time to see all of her fidgeting on the top of the counter and hear the back and forth with her and the person at the counter. But after longer than normal, we eventually went and sat down and I started smashing on my pizza. But it only took a few moments for me to look up and realize she didn't have any pizza. So I just asked her. I was like, "Oh, mom, where's your food at?" And she looked at me, smiled, water in her eyes, and she said, "Oh, baby, I'm not hungry." It was years later that I realized she couldn't afford to buy 2 slices of pizza, so she just brought me 1. That's a memory that still pulls at me today, and that's just one of countless incidents where lack made itself very known in my life. How many people, this is their life, and every moment of life, they live in this condition, a condition of having to make extreme decisions and even sacrifice the thought of having nice things and dreaming big. You see, this scarcity filled lifestyle, it's the byproduct of having a lack mindset. A lack mindset is believing that resources and opportunities are scarce and you probably won't have much. It breeds fear because you don't always know when your next meal is going to come, if the bills are get paid, will the lights be on tonight, or will I even have a home tomorrow? It causes comparison to inside insecurities because as you see other people living decent or doing well or even growing their status in life, it makes you resent them because of what you lack. It even starts to cause like these insecurities that develop thoughts in your mind of maybe I'm just not meant to live good. Maybe this is my lot in life. Have you ever heard somebody say that? And they even make up the excuses as to why other people are doing well. What did they have to do to make that kind of money? It makes a person hesitant to take risks, and we all know without risks there is no reward. It even makes them not willing after a while to share or invest or to give. The worst part is the selfish, resentful hoarding slowly turns potential into powerlessness because a person who lives and operates in lack for long enough stops believing. And nothing great happens without belief. I would even venture to say that true poverty is simply living without believing. This is the environment I was born in. And listen, this is no fault at all to my mama goose or pops. My family, my loved ones, they are amazing. And they did the best they knew how in that period of time. We can't help that lack breeds lack. And no one can get out of lack with more lack. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that becomes a generational curse. You're probably familiar with that concept. Heck, there's a strong chance that a lot of you listening to this, you too may have been born into an environment that breeds a lack mindset. If that is the case, I can confidently tell you just because you were born with it doesn't mean you have to keep it. One thing I love about being human is any moment we decide, we can change our muscles and we can change our minds. That's exactly what I did. I was born with a lack mindset. This is what was bred in me because of the environment I was born in. But today, I have an abundance mindset. And an abundance mindset is believing that there is more and that there is more than enough resources and opportunities in the world for everyone to be wealthy and live their dreams. As a matter of fact, I personally believe there's enough resources and opportunity in America alone for everyone in the world to be rich 3 times over. This mindset, it's driven by that kind of childlike faith, as well as gratitude, to be thankful to even have the opportunity to be born in such a country where I have the chance to create great. This mindset, shares freely, it invests often, and it puts others before itself because it knows that in order to get everything you want, you just simply have to help other people get what they want. Having an abundance mindset is choosing to focus on bettering yourself in order to have a greater impact on other people and the world. Guys, here's how I got rid of my lack mindset and developed an abundance mindset. First things first, I made myself aware of the lack I operated with and understood why abundance was better for me and everyone else. Up to this point in life, when I was really making that transition, I was taught, and once again, to no fault of my teachers, but it's just kind of the consensus of everyone around me that success and winning was like a pie, where it's just like I get my slice of the pie before it runs out. Right? I got to get mine before you get yours. Just insinuating that there's a limited amount of success to be had in the world, and I need to get mine before anyone else gets theirs, almost at the expense of other people winning. And I personally, I don't believe that. I don't believe that is the world we live in. I believe success and winning, it's more likened to like an apple. Follow me here. Because when I think about putting in that work and winning, the fruits of my labor, the apple, see what I did there? The apple that I gain for that, I get to then enjoy that fruit. But within that fruit, within that apple are seeds. And what I then do is I take the seeds and I plant them, which will then grow into more trees that produces more apples. Apples that I can take part in, but also other people get to indulge in. You see, by me winning, I create more opportunities for winning. That's what I believe success truly is. The coolest part about that is think about that. Let's go a layer deeper on this analogy. I When I get my apple, I can crack it open and I can count how many seeds are in that apple. That's a discoverable number. But taking just one of those seeds, when I plant it, I have no idea how many apples are going to come from that seed. That's because I believe success is a self replicating and a duplicating concept. That's the world we live in. The first thing I had to do was make myself aware that the lack I was operating with won't produce anything but lack. But by operating in abundance, I can produce more abundance for other people to indulge in and operate in. That's the first thing. The second thing is I had to get up out of my lack environment and get away from lack minded people. This is a concept we talk about a lot, right? You become who you hang with. You're a product of your environment. An environment will always shift an individual before an individual will ever shift it. So if I didn't get out of that lack mindset based environment and away from those lack minded people, how could I create anything otherwise? That's exactly what I did. I left and I got an abundance mindset from getting in environments that bred abundance. I got around people. I was blessed to earn access to people that they lived in abundance. They had an abundance mindset and they were willing to help me get it. That's the second thing I had to do. Here's the third thing, and this came from the blessing of having access to those people is I changed my words. You see, some of the things that these abundance mindset having people started to teach me was that you live at the level of your confessions. Your life is what you speak, and what you get in life is what you speak often. They taught me there's power and death in the tongue. And as soon as I started learning these things, here's the first thing I did because I wasn't perfect at all of the words I spoke, but here's what I did immediately is I stopped complaining and I stopped making excuses. Why? Well, if I am going to attract and become what I speak, then why am I going to continue to speak, i.e., complain about that which I don't want and am not enjoying? The more you complain about what you don't want, the more you get what you don't want because you attract what you speak. Complaining does not solve a thing, it creates more of a thing. And then making excuses, even worse, because now you give the power of what caused that thing to something or someone else. And now it's up to them to change it instead of you. That's what an excuse is. It's giving away the power to make the change because I speak the power into something or someone else. I stop that immediately. I only speak life. I only speak what I want, where I'm going and the excitement I have for getting there because we live at the level of our confession. The third thing that I did to develop an abundance mindset is I spoke abundance. Here's the fourth thing I did. I detached myself from outcomes and I attached myself and my feelings to personal development, progress, and impact. Why? Well, up to that point in life, like a lot of people probably, my self image was wrapped in the outcomes I created. I was happy if I won. I was happy if I succeeded. I was happy if I got what I wanted. But if I didn't, then I was sad. I was anxiety filled. I was stressed out. I was moody, to say the least. The problem with that, because that is, by the way, a byproduct of a lack mindset. The problem with that is I don't get better. I don't grow. I don't progress when I lose. And the lessons actually come from losing, not from winning. The progress, the development comes from failing, not from succeeding, because when we fail, there's opportunity to learn from what caused the failure, what caused the losing. So therefore, I can grow. And then that leads me to progress and be better. And me being better is how I have an impact. So I had to detach myself from the outcomes. Truth be told, I really had to just change my perspective. Perspective affects performance. How you view what you do determines how well you do what you do. So I stopped viewing what I did through the lens of I'm doing well if I win and I'm doing terrible if I don't. And I viewed it through the lens of I'm doing well if I do it and grow. And if I do it and grow, there's no way I can't do well. I learned concepts like all work works. It's either working for you or it's working on you. And I would even argue that the things you do and the things you work at working on you is more important than it just working for you because working on you makes you better so that eventually everything works for you. That's the byproduct of an abundance mindset. It's good stuff, right? Well, here's the last thing I did. Here's the fifth thing, and I would venture to say this might be the most important. I freed myself from the self-imposed prison of other people's opinions. This is important because when we listen to other people, when we take the advice of other people, we set ourselves up to have no more than what they have. Taking the seed from someone else means you can only produce the fruit that their seed can bear. Well, here's the problem with that. The first problem is coming from a lack environment. the seeds I would take would come from lack minded people, which means that they would produce the fruit of exactly lack. So, why would I put myself in a prison of their opinions to trap myself in the same place that they otherwise don't even want to be at? That's the first issue with that. And that comes from having a lack mindset. We care what other people think, especially other people in general, when we have a lack mindset because of the insecurities that come from it. But even as we get around people that have an abundance mindset, I still think of myself. I take everybody's opinion into consideration when I care about them, when I respect them, when they have credibility and fruit on the tree. But that doesn't mean their opinion becomes my decisions. You see, to take everything into account as gospel truth from a human being means that you have to do everything that they say. And that in and of itself is a prison. I don't believe in that either. I believe people that truly love you and they care about you and they want the best for you will give you the best that they have, but you choose whether or not you take it, which is how you stop yourself from being in the prison of opinions. That's vitally important for an abundance mindset because we're not always going to create the same fruit. Maybe, just maybe, there's a tree you're meant to grow and fruit you're meant to create with what your purpose is. Today, my family and I, we live in abundance because we have an abundance mindset. Our life is good. We live in joy. We live in peace. It's a very positive place to be around the Creoles. And every day we express our gratitude. We dream big and even bigger. We take calculated risks and we are making a difference in the world. And we want that for you too. That's why we're talking about it with you. You see, by trading in my lack mindset and dedicating myself to developing an abundance mindset, the generational curse of poverty that I was born with, it's been broken. My kids will never, ever know or experience any of that. We are in this very moment creating the Creel legacy. And you can do it too for you and your family. It's simple. To go from lack to legacy, all you have to do is get rid of the lack mindset, develop an abundance mindset, and just believe.